Welcome to the CHS Alumni Talk. I am your host, Heather Lindstad, class of 1985, and also the Capital Campaign Director for the Chelmsford High School Alumni Association. Today I'm excited to talk to CH alum Linda Kresnecki-Chemley, class of 1971, Chief Jim Spinney, class of 1986, and firefighter Bill Cohane, and one of the founding fathers of the association. He was from the class of 1974. Our first guest today is Linda Kresnecki-Chemley, class of 1971. Thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure.
It's wonderful to talk to prominent alumni that have really impacted the community of Chelmsford. And we talk about it all the time, that there's something special. It seems to be kind of that thing. I mean, did you ever leave Chelmsford, and how did you come back, and why has Chelmsford been so special for you?
Have I ever left Chelmsford? I went to school in Boston.
Yeah.
That's not leaving Chelmsford.
Yeah.
I did go live in Los Angeles for a few years.
Yeah.
And wonderful, had a great time out there, but I'm a New Englander.
Yeah.
I'm really annoyed that it has not cooled off yet. Okay.
I talk about that too. I don't love the snow.
Yeah.
But it's still home to be in New England and know
Right.
that it is going to snow. And that
I think we live here for the fall. That's why we live in New England. It's just not happening yet this year. And we've had a fabulous fall, don't get me wrong, but I think we're ready as a New Englander.
Yeah. What, when you were in school, was there a moment at Chelmsford High School that really you felt like kind of defined you, gave you a niche of where you wanted to go to school, why you wanted to go to college, and those kind of ideas?
I mean, that's a good question, and everybody has their own journey.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was one of those people in high school that, I enjoyed it. I was a very social animal in high school, good student, but I thought maybe I was going to get married and what have you.
Yeah.
So my journey was to get out of high school and I ended up going to Middlesex Community College, became a certified dental assistant, worked in that field for a while, went back to school at Northeastern and got a bachelor's degree in communications, and ended up almost immediately in sales.
Really?
I know. So you never ever know.
Correct.
It's just so hard to know what's going to happen in life. And
Yeah.
but Chelmsford, when you get out into the world and you start meeting people from around the country and around the area, I'm really, really happy. And I'm so grateful that I went to Chelmsford High School, because compared to many areas, I think I have a better command for the English language. Okay. Just knowing some basic things in grammar. It's like, I know my English teachers, and I loved them, and that's why I went into communications. Yeah. I think my English teachers, especially in high school, were wonderful, and that was my draw, was to them. But very, very lucky. I feel I'm very fortunate that I went through the English programs at Chelmsford High School. And
but that goes to also, I'm sure that your parents had some influence, being
that might
being the one of my favorite papers ever was the News Weekly.
Yeah.
Being an athlete and having the opportunity to have your name in the paper was always a wonderful thing. And
yeah.
Did that make you more popular in school or less popular in school?
I was especially popular when the list came out of what class you were going to be in and what bus you were going to be on. Okay, so I was very popular during that time. But yeah, it was.
The athletes weren't looking for you to ask you why their name wasn't in the paper too?
Never,
no?
never. No, that was always a fun time. The good old days, believe me, when you had to get the newspaper to find out what was going on.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the association, and you kind of hit on it, we've kind of established a share program. We have Dennis Hunt now in the guidance office at Chelmsford High, and you just kind of hit on it, and I think I'd love you to share a little bit more, like what you've done and the fact that it's okay that you don't have to go to college right away or to try different things like that. I mean, have you found that to be a great path for others too, or?
What comes to mind for me immediately is my husband John, who owns Trinity Ambulance, but John and I have been married almost 30 years, and our children, we have a blended family, and they were very, very young when we married. And my stepdaughter, my sweet little angel Alexa, we had some rough years with her in her early 20s, and had a very hard time with her, and she ended up figuring it out. And she ended up going to Northern Essex Community College and did spectacular there. Then she went to Riviera College up in Nashua and got her degree in biology. And then she went on to Mass College of Pharmacy, and she's a physician's assistant today.
Yeah.
You know, making money that
Yeah.
people dream about. So so my path was not straight. As Alexa's was not too. And I always say, you know, everybody's journey is different. And most people, it's not from A to Z. And it is not a race. Just find out what your love is, your purpose is, and you'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said it to you, it seems like we have a lot of people that we know in connection in kind of the 6 degrees to Chelmsford High, I think.
Yeah.
Do you think that has a big influence on some of the things that you've decided or why you live in Chelmsford is because of the personal relationship that it seems like you always know that you can get a smile from somebody?
Yeah, you know, I mean, my life, you know, with John is all over the Merrimack Valley. He's got 13 911 contracts. So, you know, we're in Lowell a lot, we're in Haverhill a lot, but we always love coming to Chelmsford because it is, you know, our home. And I just think it's a great community. It is a great town, and I'm very proud to be from Chelmsford.
Yeah.
It's given me a foundation, and I know John, who's a Tewksbury boy.
We accept him, though.
We love him. I know. Best thing to come out of Tewksbury, I swear. But yeah, he's loving being in Chelmsford too, and it's a great town. I think Paul Cohen does a fabulous job as the manager.
Yeah.
You know, we've our police department, our fire department, and we've got an incredible town.
Yeah.
We really and truly do. And I think a lot of people don't realize that until you go away. It's almost like you have to go away to see what's out there and come back and to see how lucky and fortunate we are to have come from here and to be here.
Now, but your parents didn't ever leave, did they?
No, my mom, both of them graduated from Chelmsford High School. She left to go into the Navy, and she was a wave back in the day and worked at the Pentagon. And my dad was in the Army and was sent to the University of California in Berkeley to study Southeast Asian languages, and he spoke Chinese and Thai and was sent to China and Thailand in Army intelligence. So they were away from Chelmsford doing things like that.
Right.
But no, they were Chelmsford
But then they
people.
came right back.
They came back,
and
right.
established the paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to be honest, I still miss the paper. So if there was something, we talk about Chelmsford. The Rotary is kind of what it is now. We used to have no lights. If there was something that you would bring back to the town of Chelmsford, what would it be?
Skip's Ice Cream. Skip's Diner, you know. Really, I mean, that was such a part, especially in high school. After the football games, we'd always go to the, Skip's Ice Cream and Skip's Diner, best hot dogs in the world, fresh ground hamburger for their hamburgers. It was, it's just a great place.
Great place, yes.
Yeah.
I think my parents have a brick, but
yeah, we do too.
Okay, Linda, it's so nice to meet you. I've heard so much about you through my family, and I appreciate it. And on behalf of the Alumni Association, thanks for being a Hall of Famer.
Thank you.
And being part of the association.
Like I said, my pleasure. Thank you very much, Heather.
Hey. So now, my next guest, I will bring in prominent Chief of Police, Jim Spinney. Chief Jim Spinney, class of 1986. If I mess anything up with calling you Jimmy or whatnot, it's only because we're all from Chelmsford and we grow up and we try to, look at each other.
We go way back. It's funny. I feel like an old man when you say it that way with those years, but it seems just like yesterday we were running around in the same neighborhood.
Yes, and I don't think our neighborhood has changed too much. A few bigger houses on Lock Road, but certainly those are the things. Yep. Well, you as the chief, though, are around the school all the time. And so Chelmsford High must mean a lot to you, but you're now the chief. And is that the occupation you thought you were going into, or was it something at Chelmsford that kind of changed your mind going through high school or kind of defined you?
Well, to start out what you just said about the high school, I'm happy to say we have a full-time school resource officer starting last year, so that's been working out fabulously.
Yeah.
But to get to your point, it might sound a little corny, but I actually got into this line of work. My father was in the fire department growing up, as you know, and your dad was in the police department. So I always had an eye towards the profession. But what I did do at the high school is I talked to a lot of teachers that I wanted to do that, and they were so helpful with staying, getting to college, finish out your college degree, because you don't need a college degree to be a police officer.
Yep.
But you're far better off if you get one.
Correct.
And I remember getting that advice from Mrs. Lynch in the Career Center,
Yep.
and Mr. Fletcher, and they all were like, get your 4-year degree, even though you think it's going to take forever, it won't, and you'll be head and shoulders above your competition. And I'm so glad I listened.
Yeah. I thought I was going to go into kind of being an FBI agent and the whole gamut, and my dad took me to the gun range that
Yeah.
used to be right behind the town hall, if I
Yeah,
remember.
the original one, and the
Yeah.
auxiliary police used
Yeah,
that.
yeah. He said I could shoot pretty well, and I said I can't hold a gun.
Oh, you didn't like it?
I didn't like it at all.
I don't like it either, no. But no, I really never thought I'd be chief up until just a few years ago when there's some upward movement. But just getting back into town as a police officer, that was my ultimate goal, to work in the town that I grew up in.
And why was that? I mean, I know you spent some time up, you graduated from UMass Lowell, and
Yep.
then you headed up to New Hampshire.
Yep.
Not far.
Nope.
But we all kind of talk about it, you know, and again, I left for a while, was down in Connecticut for about 16 years, and I've merged back into
Right.
the Chelmsford. How did that happen for you?
You know, it's interesting. I just felt like the whole time I wasn't in town, I felt like I was wired to return to town. It just didn't, as nice as the other towns were that I worked in, and I felt very fortunate to have gotten a position there, I felt like I needed to get back to town to put my skills and the lessons I've learned towards working in this community and helping the residents of this community.
Yeah.
So that was a major objective of mine, and I was so happy when it worked out.
Well, the town has changed, though.
Oh, yes.
You know, when we were around, and not to date us or anything there was, I don't even know if there was traffic lights at one point.
I remember one, Stedman at Chelmsford Street.
Yeah.
It's the only light I remember.
And then there is the Rotary. But you've seen the town,
Yeah.
and it is pretty crazy and lots of traffic. But if there was something that you would bring back to the town of Chelmsford, what would it be?
I miss the cinema. I miss having a few of our own amenities. I miss the drive-in theater
Yes.
off of Littleton Road,
Yep.
and I miss the cinema.
Yep.
And I actually, believe it or not, miss our little mall when it was a mall. And it was actually, as little as it was kind of quaint to go there and just kind of hang around.
That is true, and you could go there with a few dollars and buy
Yeah.
all your Christmas presents.
Right.
You know, you could get dropped off there. And
But I definitely miss the cinema.
Yeah.
You know, that was a place to meet your friends.
Right.
And still be in town.
Yep.
But you're right, the traffic now is 10 times more, congested than it ever was, and that's just a fact of the region.
Right.
But I do miss those things.
Yeah. We're within the association. We've really had a good push now. We're working on a Lions Link for networking for Chelmsford alumni to when you graduate or you haven't found a job to kind of join and talk to CHS alum. And we're also starting the SHARE program that's kind of started up with the guidance program at the high school. And you've kind of had your path, and you said about your guidance counselors, but what would also be your advice to anyone, starting in the 9th grade or those kind of things, about how to pick a career or kind of pave the way through high school to figure out really what you want to do?
I would start big and then bring it down. So if someone that wanted to get into law enforcement, I would look at the big picture. Don't just look at municipality. I mean, as great as municipal police work is, and it's rewarding because you deal with the people and you get to see results, I would start at a bigger, like a federal level, Homeland Security. I guess regardless of what kind of career, look at all the options and then find the niche within that career that best fits you, whether that's, a smaller local level or something county or state,
Yeah. That's funny that you said that because, my brother Russell, class of 90, he went to Mass Maritime, and then he went to UMass Lowell, UMass Amherst actually, and he thought he was a sports management major, and of course he followed my dad's path, and now he is with the federal
Right.
government,
Yep.
and Homeland Security. So I think obviously he would have enjoyed.
I tell that to a lot of
Yeah.
new people that want to get into the field. I go really take a look at what the federal level has to offer, because there's so many different avenues, but not taking anything away from local level, because it is important. But don't just hold yourself back to a tiny slice when you could look at the whole thing at first.
Right. You can still live in Chelmsford and work for the federal government.
yeah,
Because
sure.
I think that's the key, though, right? We all
Yep.
love to come back here.
Yep.
And you have to have that opportunity to come back into Chelmsford and kind of be a part of it. The association, again, too, we've got all kinds of different things going on. So talk to me about your CHS classmates that you still keep in touch with and that camaraderie that you felt like that you kind of established in high school.
Yeah, we were kind of, I hate to use the phrase thicker than thieves back in the day. We were good kids, but I definitely had a handful. Steve Vellucci, Todd Terranova, Dan Finaro, who's on our fire department in town,
Yeah.
Kevin O'Brien, who's on our fire department in town, Gary Ryan, who's the fire chief.
Yeah.
you know, those are the names that I saw back in those days, and I do keep in touch with, albeit not as many as I'd like anymore, but definitely that core.
Right.
They still live locally. They work for the town, so
Yeah.
I see them quite a bit, and that's been nice to be able to do. But there have been those that have moved on, and but we had some great times back then.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
How about the last class reunion? Do you remember?
Well, I haven't gone in probably,
Oh.
I hate to admit it, it's probably been 10 years.
Okay.
And I did pop in. I was on duty. I popped in and just kind of did some handshakes and some hugs.
Yeah.
Donna Sheehan, some great friends. Trisha Bew.
Yeah.
So all those shout outs.
Yeah.
But it was really great seeing them. They all seem to look a lot younger than I do.
It's the nature of your job to be on call, though, right? I mean, so that's
Yeah.
one of those things.
Yeah.
So, hey, I truly enjoy it. You know that our parents will be talking about this, or at least I know your mom and my mom will definitely be talking.
Yeah, they
'cause
definitely interact.
They have the gift of gab.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
thank you very much, Chief Spinney,
My
for
pleasure.
being here. I truly appreciate it,
My
and
pleasure.
I'm looking forward now to bringing in a fireman in Bill Cohane, class of 1974. Thank you
Great.
very much. My third guest today, welcome, firefighter Bill Cohane, class of 1974. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you. It's nice to be here.
You know, should I say that? You've been in the firefighting business, we'll just say that, because you've been a fixture in Chelmsford for almost 33 years just as a firefighter. So we won't-
Right.
And I just gave away your class. So what is it so special about Chelmsford? I mean, living in this town, you have kids in the town, what just kind of makes you smile about the town of Chelmsford?
Well, it's funny. You know, it's not easy to put your finger on it, but one thing that tells me it's a great town is a lot of the people that graduated from Chelmsford High School now come back to the town to live after they get out of college, after they get married, after they start a family. It's not an inexpensive town to live in, so you have to get started a little bit before you come back. I had the good fortune of living in town most of my life. I lived in Tingsboro a very short town, but for a fairly large community with 30,000 residents, it has that small town feel.
Yeah.
And that could be good and bad. You talk about someone, you're going to know that they're related to someone, or they're best friends with
Yeah.
someone.
Yep.
And then I started on the fire department 32 years ago, but prior to that, I was always involved in town. I was actually the first executive director of the Chelmsford Housing Authority full-time.
Yeah.
I held that position for a few years. I owned a store in town for 10 years. So, I mean, I've been ingrained in the community, town meeting rep, on the Housing Authority for 15 years. So, but it's a community. That's the thing. People take care of each other.
Yeah.
In the school system, it's a lot of the teachers were former students.
Right.
And they feel a real deep connection to the town.
Yeah, you see that with the principals and a lot of the teachers in the school system.
Exactly.
But so you had that vision back in the day. I mean, you were the class president your junior and senior year at Chelmsford High School, and then you had kind of a vision of what the Alumni Association, or why Chelmsford High School
Right.
should
Right.
have an alumni association. And like when we talk about it, still, you know, I've been with a lot of friends from college and stuff, and they kind of give me that kind of strange look about a public high school.
Yeah.
What was the idea, and how is it looking right now?
It's funny. George likes to say that I lost my power, so to speak, because as a class president, back then, he held the class president in very high esteem,
Yeah.
and he made them feel that way. Although I was not the class president under him my junior year. But it wasn't actually that made me feel strongly about it. I got very involved again. I guess it's my nature to get involved. So when I went to Lowell, and at the time it started, in the beginning it was Lowell State, and during my first year down there, it was morphing into Lowell, not UMass. It was Lowell.
Yep.
And Everett Olson was the president of the joint schools temporarily, and he was from North Chelmsford, right? So he gets, I get on the activities commission as a freshman, right? And he's getting me involved and makes me chairman of a committee. So one of the committees, the first committee I'm involved with, is the alumni committee. So the coolest thing, Lowell Technological Institute, Lowell Textile School, Lowell State Teachers College, all of these people are coming together for this this function. It was a reunion type of thing, but it wasn't really. But it was to recognize all the merging of these schools.
Yeah.
And I thought, how cool is this?
Right.
Because I got to meet them and talk with them. And they were there to for social aspects, but they were also there to give back to their school. They all were there for a good reason. So I felt this was kind of cool. So I said, you know, I happen to go back to the high school and visit George in his new building. And of course, a lot of people don't realize, but my senior year, I think I spent as much time in an unfinished high school as I did in a finished high school.
Right, yeah.
He'd call me down and say, send Coheen down here if you're not doing anything important in class today. And the teacher would send me down. He'd drive me down to the new high school and ask me what I thought. And I'm thinking, this is just out of the question, you know, that they're asking a student what he thinks.
Yeah.
So I felt that. And then when I went on to college, so I happened to come back to visit him one day, and I said, hey, you know what? We need an alumni association.
Yeah.
He looked at me like I had three heads. You know, what are you, nuts? I'm just opening a 2,400 student school, and you want to start an alumni association.
Right.
So it was put on the back burner, but every time I'd run into him somewhere, I'd kind of kid him. I'd say, hey, when are we going to start that alumni association? And I think it was in the First Bank and Trust Company in Chelmsford Center, and I happened to run into him. I owned a business at the time in town. It was called Convenience Plus out in South Chelmsford. I was on the fire department a few years, and he's at one teller, and I'm at another. I look over and I said, how about now? Like that, because you're finally retired, because he was retired, right?
Yep.
And he goes, no, maybe we can talk about it, because I think he was missing being principal a little bit too, you know?
Yep.
So, so I said, you know, I think this could be a good idea. We walk out the door, and Bill Logan, who was a graduate of the high school too, he's walking down the sidewalk, and he says, let's get him too. And I knew Billy, and I think Billy might have even been a selectman at the time. And so we broached the idea of Bill. We met at George's house a couple of weeks later, and that was the beginnings of it. So it really had its initial thoughts back in 1975, but we waited because of whatever we were both getting on in life to sit down. But again, it's that feeling of community. And,
and I've noticed it right now with our Facebook page and the website going on, and it's been really, like, to engage people is easier than I thought.
I mean, we have over $1 million in our endowment fund.
Right.
I mean, for a public high school alumni association to be able to say that.
Yeah.
Every year we induct 9 people into our Hall of Fame.
Right.
And some people, some organizations, but it's attended 253. We had to move it out of Chelmsford, sad to say, because the Radisson couldn't handle the numbers.
Right.
That was the only reason.
Yeah.
That was the main reason, in my opinion. So yeah, it's again, those roots go deep. You know, Chelmsford has a great history in and of itself, and I think so. One of the things that I found in high school, the teachers seem to take an interest in the kids.
Yep.
It's not about just teaching.
Correct.
It's definitely not about the career, because it's a tough business. You don't make a ton of money yet.
Right.
Okay? So there's something else, you know, and they make that connection with the kids, and I think the kids feel that as they grow older in their careers, and they feel like that's an important thing to give back to.
I think that's going to, again, be what the SHARE program is. You know, reaching out to the alum, and they want to give back. They want to, you know, they're giving back through the endowment, the scholarships, but also the SHARE thing, just to be able to sit down with a high school student and just talk about the career, or what path you would take and being a firefighter. And, you know, we talk about going to college, but it's not always about going to college. Some people, it's a community college, those kind of things. And I think the Chelmsford people do want what's best for the young students.
And we thought about that. We kind of thought about that early on, and we never really got it off the ground. But we did get something similar in a way as our Authors Corner over at the high school.
Right.
I mean, kids come into that area and they see all of these students that have graduated from Chelmsford High School producing all of this material, these books and you know, manuals and all kinds of scientific studies and whatever, and it's all in print form. You know, I wish we had more time to relate that to the kids, that who these guys are. That's kind of
Well, this
part
Alumni
of the thing we need to
Association,
do.
I think that's where we're moving towards. So I'm really excited, because you're going to be back talking to students, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Anytime I'm getting invited, I'm always willing to talk.
Great. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to having you back.
Thanks for having me, Heather. I've had a great time.
Thanks, Billy.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on CHS Alumni Talk. I thought it was a great introduction to some wonderful alumni and how to give back, how they've given back to the community, and why they love Chelmsford so much. I hope you will join us and become a CHS alumni member by joining the organization. You, too, could be a mentor to our CHS students currently, and to students who are just graduating. Everything is great with and when you have Lions Pride.